Have you ever just stopped and wondered, how did I become, well, me? Seriously, think about it. How did you go from being a tiny baby to the person listening to this right now? That entire journey, that whole incredible story, has a name: human development. And that's what we're going to dive into today.
You know, our whole journey starts with this really powerful idea. Think about a caterpillar. It's not just some little crawly bug, right? Inside, it holds the complete promise of a butterfly. A tiny seed isn't just a speck of dust. It has the entire blueprint for a massive tree. This quote is a reminder that every living thing, and that includes us, has this built-in potential. We're all called to become what we're meant to be.
So that kind of begs a huge question, doesn't it? If a caterpillar has a blueprint for becoming a butterfly, what's our blueprint? How does a person unfold? That is the big question we are going to tackle as we look at the fascinating set of instructions that make us who we are. Okay, so let's start with the absolute basics. Before we get into the details, what even is human development? What are we actually talking about here? So here's the official definition. It's the pattern of movement or change that begins at conception and continues through the lifespan. Now, the two most important words there are pattern and change. And here's something you've got to get. That change isn't always about growth. Of course, learning to walk is development, but so is an older person's memory getting a little weaker. It's the entire journey. The ups, the downs, the whole thing.
And these changes, they basically come in two flavors. First, you've got quantitative change. That one's easy. It's just how much or how many. You grew 2 inches. You learned 50 new words. It's all about the numbers. But qualitative change, that's where things get really interesting. This is a change in how you function. It's not just memorizing more math formulas. It's that aha moment when you finally get how it all works. It's like your brain gets a whole software update.
So if we're all following this blueprint, there must be some rules, some assembly instructions, right? Well, it turns out there are. Let's take a look at the 4 fundamental rules that guide how we all grow and change.
Yep, there are 4 of them.
All right, here are the big 4. Development is orderly, it varies, it's gradual, and it's complex. Now let's break down what each of those really means in, plain English.
Rule number 1, it's orderly. Development isn't random. It follows a very predictable pattern. The first one is called cephalocaudal. Sounds super scientific, but all it means is head to toe. And it makes perfect sense, right? A baby gains control of its head and neck way before it can stand up on its feet. Control literally moves from the top down. The second part of that orderly pattern is proximodistal. Again, another one of those fancy words that just means from the center of the body outwards. Think about how a baby can swing its whole arm around long before it can do that delicate little pincer grasp to pick up a single Cheerio. The big idea here is that none of this is by accident. It all follows a plan. Okay, rule 2. It varies. And this one is huge. While we all tend to follow the same general sequence, we sit up, then we crawl, then we walk, the timing is completely unique to you. Why? Well, it's a mix of your genes, your heredity, and your environment, all your life experiences. So, comparing your progress to somebody else's, it's like comparing the blueprint for a skyscraper to the blueprint for a little cottage. They're just built on different timelines.
Rule number 3 is one we all know but sometimes forget. Development is gradual. You don't just go to bed one night as a kid and wake up the next morning as a teenager. It just doesn't work that way. These changes happen slowly, bit by bit, over weeks and months and years. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
And that brings us to our final rule: development is complex. I mean, it's not just one thing happening. It's actually 3 different things all developing at the same time, and they are completely tangled up with each other.
So our development is really the result of 3 interconnected processes: the biological, the cognitive, and the socio-emotional. And that word, interconnected, is everything. You can't separate them. Imagine them like 3 different colored threads being woven together to create the totally unique tapestry that is you. You can't just pull one out.
So first up, you've got the biological processes. This is all the physical stuff. Your brain growing, getting taller, hormonal changes, all of it. Think of this as the physical hardware your whole system is running on. Next, we have the cognitive processes. This is everything going on in your mind. The changes in how you think, your intelligence, your ability to use language. The whole journey from just babbling to being able to solve a really tough problem. If your body is the hardware, this is the software.
And finally, the socio-emotional processes. This covers your relationships, your emotions, and your personality. So if your body is the hardware and your mind is the software, this is kind of like your social network, how you connect and interact with everybody and everything else.
So now we know what development is and the basic rules of the road. But how do experts actually study it? Well, there have been two main ways of looking at it. You can think of it as an old, outdated map versus a new, much more accurate one.
The old school view, the traditional approach, was pretty limited. It basically said you do all your growing and changing as a kid, and then you hit adulthood, and you just kind of stay the same until you get old and start to decline. But the modern lifespan approach says, no way, that's not how it works at all. It shows us that development is a continuous journey. Adulthood isn't the finish line, it's just another leg of the race.
This modern view sees development as, first, lifelong, because it truly never stops. It's multidimensional. That's our three processes working together. And here's the really cool one. It's plastic. Now, that doesn't mean we're made of Tupperware. It means we're changeable. We're adaptable. You can learn a new skill or change a habit when you're 16 or when you're 60. You're never just stuck. And finally, it's contextual, which just means we're all changing people living in a constantly changing world.
Okay, that was a lot of information. We've gone over definitions, rules, processes, and different ways of looking at things. But why does any of this actually matter? Why should we care about understanding our own blueprint? It all comes down to something like this. This quote says it all. Children develop best when they have secure, consistent relationships with responsive adults. This is the blueprint in action. When we understand the rules, that growth is gradual, that everyone's different, that it's complex, we can create better environments for everyone to grow up in. It helps parents and teachers give kids the support they actually need. Understanding our blueprint helps us build a better world for the people following in our footsteps.
And that brings us right back around to you. Because the single most important thing to take away from all this is that your development is not over. It didn't stop last year. It won't stop when you finish school. Your blueprint is a living document. And right now, you are the one holding the pen. So the only real question left is, what are you going to write in your next chapter?